Welcome to Bitching and Moaning, the podcast where we talk shit, spill the tea, and say all the things you're definitely thinking about but shouldn't say out loud.
We're your hosts. I'm Stephanie with Patricia, and together we're your weekly dose of sass, laughs, and just the right amount of bad decisions.
From sexy stories to petty rants, nothing's off limits. So grab your wine or your drink of choice, loosen your morals, and let's get into it.
Because if we're not bitching,
we're probably moaning. Welcome to Bitching and Moaning. We hope you are having a wonderful, wonderful month of November. Happy Veterans Day to those veterans out there. Yep. If you guys see this, we are so thankful for your service, your continued service, and if you served in the past, we greatly appreciate that. And those families of veterans, because they sacrifice too, big time. So
yeah, I have my dad, my grandpa goes way back. One of my brothers served, and then I have a nephew-in-law that's currently serving now. So
wow,
yeah,
wonderful.
So in the past, in the present, and my family. So very much thank you for your service.
I love it. So we are going to start with our wines, and then we'll get into a little bit of a discussion. So I went out of town this past weekend, and I found this wonderful wine, and I thought of my bestie, so I brought her back some chocolate wine. We haven't tried it yet. It's a new kind. It's called the chocolate wine, or chocolate wine. It's out of a winery in Walla Walla, Washington. I'm sure it's called the Chocolate Shop. That's what it's called. And it has hints of cherry, berry, and chocolate, and dark chocolate. And it's just going to be wonderful, I think.
Smells wonderful.
It does. Doesn't
it smell amazing? You can just smell it all day.
Cheers to this episode, and we'll see how it goes. Oh, that's really good. That's probably going to go down a lot easier than we think. We might have to fill up after.
I know. It's like Kool-Aid almost.
Minutes.
Yeah. Ooh, yummy. So, yeah.
So before we hit our topic today, there was a couple of items we wanted to talk about and let you guys know that we spend time together. We spend a lot of time together, but we also spend time with our families. So we thought that we would
start doing little snippets of our life. I mean, I think y'all probably think we spend every minute together, but we don't, like she said. So we've been doing some traveling and have some different things out of town, but also in town that we do that are pretty neat to see. Some things in the area. So we're going to start opening up our lives a little bit more on just kind of what we do outside the podcast, so that way you can get to know us a little bit more and see what kind of fun things are down here in the DFW Metroplex.
Yeah, and then also wherever we go to, you might be listening to us or watching us from Boston or from California or from Mexico or from wherever, and when we hit those places, that might be some place you might want to check out. So we're gonna start adding that to it. So watch out for that. So our topic today, I think we are going to do a little bitching, maybe a lot of bitching.
Yeah, I think a lot of bitching with this one.
Probably a lot of bitching. I think the premise of our topic is how people react to social experiments. There are so many that you probably wouldn't even think are social experiments that you see every day of your life, but they really are. So we're going to touch on those and get some feedback as far as like what we researched and talking to other people and seeing stuff on social media or television or whatever. And then also kind of the things we think about, when we see a social experiment out there.
Yeah, this topic came up because you had sent me, I think it was TikTok, had forwarded something to me, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into it in a minute, but you had sent me an experiment. And I was just kind of surprised at the reactions of that particular one, and I just thought it was kind of sad of the outcome. So I'll just kind of do that little teaser, but that's kind of where our topic came from, was something you had saw, and we talked about it a little bit.
So let's talk about the social experiments that are out there right now that you may not even think are social experiments. So we're going to talk about this. I think you have a couple.
Yeah, Love is Blind. Now, I'm a reality junkie when it comes to love shows and like that, and so I watch Love is Blind. So if you don't know what Love is Blind is basically, it is where singles go, you separate the men and the women, and they go into these pods where they're separated by walls. So they never see each other. Right. And so they basically speed date in a matter of 10 days, and you get to know the person for who they are. So it takes looks completely out of the equation. Exactly. Because everybody's, in dating or go, ooh, they're good looking, or you might turn away from the nice guy just because you might not necessarily be attracted to that person. But you might, if you got to know that person, their soul, their personality, everything is what attracts you. Right. So basically, when they do this kind of speed dating, after or while they're in the pods and they get to learn each other, these people fall in love with the person.
Some of them really do. Yeah. Some of them don't. Some of them are like they're still just friends or whatever. But I think the show shows mostly the ones that actually connect, because there's a lot of them. There's probably 20 or 30 of each female and male, So they kind of narrow it down to like 5 or 6.
Right. So about 5 or 6 couples, and what happens is they get engaged in the pods, which sounds crazy.
But 10 days.
Yeah, 10 days. So they're speed dating for 10 days. They're sequestered, so they don't have their phones or anything like that. So you're writing in a notebook about who you like, who you don't like, what appeals to you. So after they get engaged, then they go on kind of this honeymoon of sorts, and then they meet the other couples and they interact. So they kind of have a honeymoon for a few days. After that, then they come home, they live together, and they meet their families, which is a whole nother dynamic.
And that is, let me interject here a little bit, that is part of the social experiment that how people react to it. Like the people who are in the pods know that they're ready to be married.
Yes.
For the most part. Like this show has been going on for a while now, so people are starting to get tricky. But for the most part, they've tried the dating scene. They know they're ready to commit to somebody, but they don't usually tell their family members or their friends that they're doing this, because what's going to happen? They're going to be judged.
Yeah, and they're going to get mad. It's like, why are you doing this? This is crazy, right?
And they still do that even when they come out and they say, guess what? I'm getting married in 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, and they're like, oh my God, that's insane. So they meet the families, and then what happens at the very end is they get to the altar and they decide, is love blind, whether or not they actually want to get married. So they have a chance to walk away.
Right.
And so that's the social experiment. Can you really fall in love with somebody? And so I was looking at how many of these couples have actually stayed together since the show was created. And so the first season was in 2020. And there are 9 out of 9 seasons from that time frame, there are 9 couples still together, and 2 of the couples actually have children.
Oh, that's
so sweet. It can work if your heart is in the right place and you really are looking to be married and you're doing it for the right reasons. And they, I've watched all the couples, they're still together, and I just think they're amazing. They're wonderful people, and they never would have found each other if it wasn't for this particular social experiment. So it's a weird one. It's crazy, but it works.
So is that the one that Jamie was on?
No, that was the other one I was going to talk about. Married at First Sight. So that's another social experiment. Basically, what these singles do is they talk to experts and they get interviewed. They do background checks, psychological tests. I mean, they look at their homes or whatever. It's like this really long, like a 6-month time frame, I think is what they look at them. And then the experts will match them up. So once they're matched up, they're told, you now are engaged. We've picked you a fiance and you're getting married in 2 weeks.
And they have not seen
the person. So the first time they will see them is at the altar. And then they get married. They go through the same type of experiment. They live together. And then at the end of that show, like I think it's 6 weeks, they decide if they want to get divorced or stay married. So with that one, it started in 2014. There's 11 couples that are still together. And between those 11 couples, they have 9 children.
Oh my God.
So
that's fantastic.
The couple that you're talking about, Jamie Otis and Doug Hayner, were in the first season. And hers is interesting because she was not initially attracted to Doug, and she trusted the experts, went through the experience, and now she is madly in love with her husband.
How many kids have? 3?
She has 4.
Four kids.
She's a daughter, a son, and then they just had twin boys.
Oh, and they are social media kings and queens.
Yes.
She is so raw and honest on social media.
Everything.
She shows you everything. She shows postpartum depression. She shows the happy times. She shows them fighting. She shows, I mean, they are just genuine people, and it's really refreshing to see that, because a lot of people hide behind either spew out nasty things or everything's perfect, so, and that's not reality. Reality is there's trials and tribulations in everybody's life, and if you are not man, woman, person enough to actually say what you're spewing out in person, then you're a coward. That's what I think. I think people like that are cowards. It's like they think they have some kind of platform, and but when you get them in your face, and it's something different, Well,
and I think the couples that have made it, that's exactly what they did. They were very raw with their emotions and what they were going through, because they wanted it to work. They talked about all the messy stuff in their lives. They put it all out there, so you can really figure out, who are you marrying. It's not a fake person for TV. It's like, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, and everything. And it's like, and it works for them. So Jamie and Doug are amazing. Their story's incredible. So they've been married 11 years now. Wow. And so that's pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I have a few that I kind of researched. Again, you guys will be really kind of shocked. I think that you're going to be shocked that these are social experiments, because when I read them, I was like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that show was that. So this is one that's kind of obvious, but it's 2020. What would you do? And remember, I think I've said it in a few episodes back that I'm a big 2020 prime time. David Muir, I love you. But 2020, and there is a man, John Quinones, who comes out, and what he does is he goes and hides cameras in different places, and he goes to like maybe a restaurant or a coffee shop, and he has actors in there, and it's really kind of like, I'll give you an example. There's a mom in a restaurant with her little boy, and she is scolding him and yelling at him and treating him badly and not letting him eat his food. And they're both actors, and they're trying to see, like, would anybody around them say anything? Right. Would they protect the little boy? Would they say something to the mom going, hey, you know, calm down, whatever. You don't have to talk to him like that. I remember they did one here in Texas, in a town called West Texas. It's about between Dallas-Fort Worth area and Waco. So it's kind of in the middle out there, nowhere land. But they are known for these wonderful Czechoslovakian bakeries that have like kolaches and all sorts of wonderful bakery products, right? And it's very well known here in Texas. And so people stop there, and it's very busy, and they're very nice people, and they're so wonderful. But we are in the South, and so I think it was kind of like after 9/11, the whole thing, when everybody was really heightened about different religions and whatnot. And they put actors in the bakery to see what would happen if there was a person who was working at the bakery, and Muslim women came in with their, headpieces. I don't know what they're called, but their headpieces. And the person behind the counter, again, an actor, was treating them like, you can't come in here. We don't want your kind in here. To see if, because there's lines wrapped around these bakeries, if anybody would stick up for these women and say, hey, don't talk to her like that. She has every right to be here. She's buying food, it doesn't matter what religion you are. So it was kind of interesting to see it close to home, So that's one that I found. The other one was, I used to watch this all the time. And again, I never would have said a social experiment, but Wife Swap.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that show.
I know. That came out in 2004.
Oh, my gosh.
And it went through to like 2020. It was very, I think people started catching on, like, what to do. But the premise of it was you had two very different families, and they would swap the wives. The one wife would go to the other house, and one wife would go to the other house, and they would stay there for like a week and do everything that wife's family did for a few days.
Right.
And then the tables would turn, and they would show that family what they do in their house. And it was basically to really learn and kind of think outside the box of, are you really living your best life?
Right.
And I'll give you an example. They actually have a housewife one that just came out. And I'm a housewife junkie, reality junkie. So they had some of the housewives switch places. And the housewives are very wealthy. They have these big mansions. They get glammed. They have, every designer, everything. And so there was one, she was from Salt Lake City, and she just cleaned all the time, but she does her glam and all this stuff. And she traded places with a family who was off the grid. So they had no running water. Toilet was compost, so she had to take the bag out of the toilet. They had no TVs, nothing like that. And they had 3 little kids, so they spent a lot of time with the kids, making their own food, planting their own stuff. They had one heater, like a fire heater, I don't know what they're called, but it was just, and then the wife went to Salt Lake City, and she had to get glammed up, and she had to get her nails done, and she's like, this is just not me,
Yeah.
And so it was kind of funny to watch them, and then at the end it was basically the housewife was learning how to spend more time with her family,
right,
and not so much time cleaning and doing her glam and all that. And then the other one, I think she kind of learned that I think her husband would like to go, because the Salt Lake City girl took her husband out dancing, and he loved it, and he's like, I really want to take my wife dancing so we can spend time together, because they're always with the kids,
right.
So it's just kind of lessons learned like that, good or bad. You might not agree with it. Like the little boys that was with the Salt Lake City housewife and the compost people, they're sitting there eating, and she said, it's my turn for my rules. And she said, your dad and I are going to go out for some dinner. And the little boy goes, you're cheating on mom? So again, it's the perception of these social experiments. Everybody sees it a little different. Yeah. The little girl was like, oh, this is the best thing. I have a glam mom. I get all makeup-y and I get all girly. But the little boy's like, Dad, you can't do that, And the dad's like, I'm not doing anything. Your mom knows where we're at. He had to kind of help him understand of the whole social experiment. Sometimes you have to explain these social experiments to people that don't understand.
Right.
So wife swap was one. We talked about Married at First Sight. The other one was Are You the One? I think you watched that one. Yeah. Yeah. Why don't you talk about that one?
I don't. There's so many of them, and I'm going to get them all confused on which one is which. But it's the same kind of thing about you throw a bunch of singles together, and I think with that one it was like you try to match up, or you think it's your perfect person, and they've already kind of done that behind the scenes. And I believe if it's the right one, you go into a room and it shows if you're a match or not.
Oh, okay.
And then the computer will say you're not, based on what you're looking for. And some of these people have already formed attachments.
Okay.
And so it's like, oh, you're not my perfect match, or you're not the one. And so it's the same thing about you give your
dating thing.
Yeah, you give your criteria of what you're looking for. And it's like what you think you're looking for really isn't what you're looking for, and
because that doesn't normally work,
right?
Like whatever you've been looking for hasn't been working. That's why you're on these dating shows, right?
Yeah, I think that's why they go on, like especially the Love Is Blind, is whatever they're doing isn't working,
right?
And so I need to try something different. And I think most of the people that go on those shows have pretty good intentions, like you said. There's a couple here and there, but they really are looking to do something different because it hasn't worked. And so any of those dating reality things are basically like that.
Here's another one you might not think of: The Real World. on MTV.
I remember that. Yeah,
That was also a social experience, and that's still going on. They still have those.
Jersey Shore was way back a little bit.
Yeah, that was just kind of entertaining. But this one was based. It started out in New York. They literally say they put 7 strangers together to live together, to play together, and see how they interact. They're all from different backgrounds, different religions, different cultures, and that's been going on since like 2002, 4, something like that.
Right.
And and they went into every different state, and people have stayed friends. Some of them have gotten married, and they've done some of the reunions, but that was also a social experiment. And again, I thought it was just like, wow, that's a cool show on MTV,
exactly.
But
yeah, I think it's interesting that usually with these experiments, the people that go into it, they come out of it like best friends, because they can, only the people who've been in that experience can relate to that. So they already have a common bond because they share that. So I find that very interesting, that all these people you never would have met anywhere else, different backgrounds, everything. It's like you find a way to bond with those people. And if it wasn't for that experiment, you would have missed out on a great person.
Ready for another one?
Yep. I'm ready.
Big Brother.
Yep, Big Brother.
Everybody knows Big Brother.
Yeah.
That's still going on. Started in 2000.
Yep.
25, 26 years
Throw
later.
random people in a room, see what happens, right?
Right. Compete, whatever, for money, whatever they're doing. So, again, I think the bottom line is it expresses that social experiments happen more than you think. And they continue to happen either on social media, on the television. There's universities doing social experiments. There's different types of groups, either religious, whatever. They're just doing all sorts of different social experiments, whether you know it or not. And some of you might enjoy these shows. Some of you might go, I would never go on a reality show. I would never go on a dating show. But, I mean, you're kind of doing that. If you're on an app, a dating app, you don't know that person. You're just looking at their picture.
Right.
So you're trying to date somebody by a look, and they're trying to date somebody by who they are.
Right.
So it's just a different perspective. So don't judge.
Right.
So, do you want to hear some controversial ones?
Yes, of course, because probably some of them I wouldn't even think of. I'm
did
sure.
my research.
Yeah.
With my little one.
You always find some good ones.
We're going to have some more wine.
I know, so I may have to get up and go get the bottle for us here in a second.
Before I do my crazy ones, do you have any?
No, I was going to mention the 2020 as well, and then some of them that I remember, like you were talking about in a restaurant. One was like a black man was the actor.
Yeah.
And he had like 2 white children with him, and he was like the uncle or the nanny. And there was another actor, a waitress, that came up and said, was asking the kids if they were okay and all of this. And it's like, hey, I'm the nanny. And they're like, no, you can't be the nanny. And there were people that actually stood up and said, hey, leave him alone. They apparently know him and all of this. So that one I was like, okay, there were some people that stood up. So I think about if I was in that situation, or just anything where I'm watching something, I kind of go, I don't know if they got a gun, because we're in Texas, right? So I'd get a little nervous, and I wonder if some other people don't think like that while they want to intervene. But then it's like, what's going to happen if I do? They don't like it. It's very uncomfortable. But what would you do?
Yeah.
But
I'm always the one that I would help the person. I don't care where you are. I don't care what you're doing. If you're hurting children, if you're hurting a person, a human being, if you're hurting a woman, if you're hurting a man, I don't care. I will intervene and be like, hey, stop it, knock it off. Even like when my kids were growing up, or I saw moms in Walmart, Target, wherever, yelling at their kid or grabbing their kid or smacking their kid, I was right there in their face going, do you want me to do that to you? Or, you want me to call the police for hitting your kid? Whatever the case may be. And, some people might be like, mind your own business. That is my business. If you're hitting another human being, that's my business. And you're in front of me, and I'm going to say something about it. And that's just who I am. I know you're like that too. I feel like you can always help somebody. It doesn't always have to be monetary, but you can help somebody just maybe by being there for them. Maybe nobody ever stood up to this person who's, slapping their kid around, and the kid's finally going, thank God somebody's, helping me. you know?
Yeah.
Because think about when these kids grow up and they go, yeah, my mom used to beat my ass and nobody ever said anything.
Right.
How traumatic that is. Like, you have no faith in people then. It
Right.
builds on them, you know? So that's kind of how I think about stuff.
Yeah, there was one more like they showed a man spiking a woman's drink, and it was like, would you step up for that woman if you saw that happen? And it's like, well, and I'm like, well, yeah, who wouldn't? Because you know what the outcome is going to be of that.
Yeah.
There's no other outcome but a bad one.
But there were some people on there that didn't. They're like, I just didn't want to get involved. I don't know if I really saw that. And
Yeah.
it's like, still, if whether you think you did or you think you didn't, just say, hey, you know what? You might want another drink.
Right.
Just get another drink. And it's funny that you brought that one up because I'm watching this new show on, I guess it's Hulu. I love Ryan Murphy. He does all the American Horror Stories and all the monster movies, you know. And so he came out with a new one called All's Fair with Kim Kardashian.
Oh, yeah.
So Kim Kardashian, Glenn Close, Nene Nash, something like that.
Niecy Nash.
Yeah. And then Naomi Watts are the main characters. And of course, Sarah Paulson, because she's amazing. But they're the main characters. They're all attorneys. And it's, honestly, it's a little goofy. You know, Ryan Murphy's awesome, but this is a little goofy. A lot of taglines kind of thing. But that actually happens to one of the attorneys. She doesn't date. She doesn't want to date. She doesn't want to. And then they're like, you know, it's time. You need to get out there. So she goes to like a sophisticated party, all dressed up, meets this really handsome man, and he's like, let me get you a drink. And as soon as he said that, I said to my husband, I'm like, no, do not let them go get you a drink. You go get a drink with them, but no. So then I'm like, okay, maybe they're not going that direction, right? So he gets her, she walks over, and he hands her the drink, and the next thing you know, she's blacking out.
Ugh.
He drugged her.
Yeah.
He drugged her, and you got to watch a show. He did a lot of things to her, and it was just so sad.
Right.
And then she never knew his name. They were just dancing. I mean,
Yeah.
it took more than 10 minutes for all this to happen.
Right.
And so, if you see something, say something.
Yeah, and just because it's a nice place and everybody's dressed up
And
doesn't
they're
mean there's a
rich and they're
lot of
fancy.
nice people in there. So it can happen anywhere.
It
so
sure
yeah.
can. It sure can.
So
All right, here's my weird ones, or
Okay.
kind of strange
All
ones.
right.
Of course, they're back in like the 60s, 70s, whatever. But one of the most, I wouldn't say controversial one, but one that is very well known is called the Milgram Experience. And it was conducted, there's actually a documentary online on YouTube if anybody wants to watch it. Well, maybe we'll try to put the link somewhere.
Okay.
But it is a Pennsylvania professor, and the premise of it is how people handle obedience from authority. And so it's not anything crazy, but back in the day it kind of was. So he had this professor, and he took 40 men, because of course back then women had no voices, 40 men, and he decided one was a teacher and one was a student. They put them in separate rooms, and they had the professor tell the one that was the teacher, saying, okay, you have to say these things. Blue girl, white house, red wagon. Say that whole list to the student. And the student has to then remember, and then you go, white, what? And they have to go, they have to pick 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh,
right?
God, I've already failed.
Okay. So if that student fails, you shock him. Electric shock to them.
Oh, my God.
And there was this big, huge board with little knobs, and each one they got wrong, you go more and more and more shocks. Yes.
That should be illegal. That's probably why it doesn't happen now. Oh, my God. That's like torture.
Right. So the first shock, the guy goes, oh, because he's you know, it hurts, right? So then he reads another one, the guy gets it wrong. Ow! And he had told the professor, the student had told the professor, I just went and my heart's not doing really good. He's like, oh, this isn't going to hurt you. So here the teacher keeps, shocking, and the guy keeps screaming, stop, I can't do this. I want to stop. And the professor goes, no, you have to finish. You have to finish. You keep going. He's like, the teachers were just like, I don't know if I could really do this. You know, he's yelling back there. He's like, it doesn't matter. He'll be fine. You have to. So it was the authority of the professor telling him to continue and whether they would continue or not, right? And so some of them went to almost 280 volts.
Oh my God.
And others were just like, I can't do this. Morally, I can't handle him screaming back there.
Right.
Now he's not even answering. What if he's dead back there? He's like, I just can't. And so some of them actually kind of stopped, and then others kept on going, which was just like, and then they finally stopped, said, I'm not going anymore. I can't even, he's not even answering, you know?
Oh, wow.
So the premise again was how they listened to the teacher, the professor, and the professor just kept on saying, you got to keep going.
Right.
And some of them did and some of them didn't.
That's
the moral values.
Right.
Your moral compass, not your political view, not your faith or religious, not your economic, your moral compass of what you would do if somebody needed you. So with that, once the experiment was over, they brought the student back out and they let him know that there was actually no shocks.
Oh, wow.
Again,
I would probably start crying at that point.
It was an experiment, you know?
Yeah.
And so the teachers were like, thank God. I was just like, you know, so nervous. And the one professor goes, well, why didn't you stop after the first time? Why didn't you? And they were all getting paid. And some of them were like, I'll give you the money back. And they're like, no, you keep the money, but you got to keep going. So it was the peer pressure of, you know, it's very interesting. Wasn't crazy controversial, but it was very interesting of like how people react to something.
Well,
like
I think
that.
at that time, though, it's like, you know, I remember being raised in the 70s. You just listened to the authorities. You did what the adults told you to do.
Yep.
So that was what, 20 years earlier, 15 years earlier. It was even worse then. So it's like, even as adults, it's like if they're an authority figure, and teachers, professors were very well respected.
Right.
It's like, well, they say. And,
you know what? Another thing I saw on social media this week, and I'm actually going to bitch about this. And if you trying to figure out what are we bitching about, the bitch is that when there are these social experiments, you have the right to view it as you want to. That is why we live in the wonderful land of America, because we have the choice to like it, not like it, understand it, care about it, not care about it, do something about it. You know, that is everybody's right. And if you don't like it, then that's too bad. My opinion might not be the same as yours. But does that mean I'm going to attack you on it?
No.
Absolutely not. Who am I to attack you on your beliefs, your morals, your thoughts, your opinions? I could tell you my opinion. I could respect what you say, whether I agree with it or not. And you know, you and I have done that too. We have different thoughts on a lot of things. But it's the respect value of the other person's view and opinion, whether you agree with it or not. And then you can always go back to that old saying with your parents saying, if you have nothing nice to say, shut the fuck up. I mean, really, shut the fuck up. Anyways, so here's another one. This was back in the, I guess the 1930s, 40s. They took a group of black men that were all infected with syphilis. And it was the government. They told them, hey, we are going to give you medication for this treatment. We were also going to pay for burial plots if anything happens. And we're going to take care of you, right? So this group of men came in thinking, all right, we're going to be taken care of. They're giving them medicine. It was no medicine.
Wow.
So they wanted to see what would happen to these men and having syphilis untreated. What do you think happened? They died. You know, and it was so awful. And they picked the black community, black men to do it. It's just, it was there's a lot of bad ones. I mean, those are just touching the surface. There's Nazis that took Jewish people and would do tests on them to see how their pilots would, what would happen to their pilots if this happened. So for instance, they took a Jewish person, would stick them in cold baths or waters to see how long they can handle that. So like, how long can a pilot, if he was shot down, how long can he actually be in cold water? Everybody's different, but they'd have these people in these cold baths, freezing cold. They'd also give them only salt water. Again, if they came down in the ocean or whatever, what happened to these people? They died of dehydration. Inhumane. Right. It is just so sad.
Yeah, the experiments they did, just real quickly, in that particular, the Nazis and stuff, is horrific to read. It's very hard to fathom the evil of what they did to a certain group of people. So that's all I'm going to say about
it was again the moral compass of
compass.
Your beliefs and whatever, and just human human part of you. How do you not go stop? Or how can I help? Right.
I think that's today. It's really hard to bring in the human factor because we hear so much. And everybody's just mad or angry, and we forget that there are people. They're just like us. So it's, again, the human factor to that, your moral compass. It's, if it was your mother, your brother, whatever, you should treat them all the same. If something bad is happening, step in and try and make a difference. And we have lost our way.
We have, I think so too.
Yeah, horribly when it comes to that. We don't treat people as people anymore.
Right. So how this all came about was I saw a social experiment on social media. We are on social media a lot. Right. We are podcasters. We have, followings. We have a lot of social media content that, we put out there and that, we have. So anyways, this came across my feed. It was on TikTok, and it was a social experiment that a woman out of Kentucky decided to do. And what she decided to do, since there was this thing going on right now, it's obviously changed over the last couple of days. But you remember the SNAP benefits were not being given out to people who need them, children, families in, poverty level families that are receiving that. So this woman's like, I'm just kind of curious, what would happen if I called for help? Okay, so what she did was she pretended that she had a baby crying in the background, and she decided to call churches to see if maybe the church would just give her a small can of formula. So again, she didn't have a baby. It was a social experiment. So she called one church, and she just said, hey, is there any way I can have a small bottle of formula? And instantly the church said no. No, she's like, well, my baby hasn't eaten in 24 hours. The baby's crying in the back. And she's like, she goes, I'll come and get it. I just need a small can. She called 33 churches, and only 7 of them said yes to her. Think about that.
Right.
7 churches. Now, it is very interesting to me that women were answering these phones, these phone calls from her, and still telling her no.
Right.
And I'm not saying men, it's surprising for men, but that motherly instinct, maybe some people don't have it, but that motherly instinct, that human instinct of this baby is in need of food.
Right.
I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what political view you are. I don't care if you're a member of my church. I will help you. I will help you. And so she called these different places, and the first person who said yes was a mosque. Let's listen to that for 1 second again. A mosque. They get so much heat. They get so much crap from the United States, from other religions about so much stuff. But that person who answered the phone said to her, absolutely, what kind of formula do you need? He didn't say, are you a member of our mosque? Are you Muslim? He didn't say, what political view do you have? He said, what kind of formula do you need? Absolutely.
Right.
And she was like, oh my God, she was so happy. And when the people did tell her yes, she, told them about the social experiment. She actually did tell some of them that said no to her about the social experience, and they hung up on her. So the church says no, and then they hang up on her.
Yeah, I think the thing that was interesting about that is it was all kinds of religions.
Yes, it was.
And again, people losing their way is they forget what the Bible teaches with that. So I went and I knew we were going to talk about this particular one, and I got some Bible verses.
Let's hear it. Oh my God.
So
Look at I'm running low.
Yeah. So we'll have to get up here in a minute. But yeah, so I have 4 Bible verses. Proverbs 22:9 says, "He who is generous will be blessed, for he gives some of his food to the poor." So whether they're poor or not, this is, in the Bible it talks about poor people. Yeah. But this woman, because let's say her situation was related to the SNAP benefits, she just needed some help. Didn't mean she was going to stay there forever.
Right.
But again, he who is generous will be blessed. So all those people that hung up apparently forgot that verse because, you're missing out on a blessing by helping somebody. You don't know what their life is going to turn out to be.
One thing I was thinking about is like the people that said, well, are you a member of our church? I was thinking, isn't that not the best way to have somebody come in to become a member?
Yes.
Why would I want to be a member of a church that does not help families, children, whatever? And think about it, a lot of churches, not all of them, a lot of them are pro-life. And she would ask them, aren't you pro-life? And they'd hang up on her because they didn't want the reality of, wow, maybe I should be helping this person. And I'll tell you what, I do remember one time I was at a church I was at before, not the one I'm at now. I love the church I'm at now, but the one before, I would ask, like, so if people come up to the church, what do you do? Do you help them or whatever? And my pastor said, well, I don't give them money. Right. What I do is I could say, I can give you some food, or if you want to help me around the church, I'd be happy to give you something like food or clothing or whatever you need, or take you up to the store and get you some food or whatnot. But I will not give them money. And I totally understand that because you don't know what they're going to do with it. So, but I also thought that was great that he had them working. Maybe they need something to do. Maybe they feel like they're not worthy of anything, so let's plant some plants. Let's help me put up some signs or something, so they feel like they're being productive and working for their food.
Exactly. Because it's like with the homeless, I don't think a lot of those people work and support themselves, and if they feel productive, they feel like they're worth something because they can see they put a plant in here and they know they did that. So okay, so let me give you another verse. Matthew 19:21. Jesus said to him, "If you would be perfect, go sell what you possess and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come follow me." So that's another one. Again, give what you have to the poor. Yeah. So, it's
and there was actually another, a Buddhist church. The woman who answered the phone, I think she was so aghast that the woman didn't have any food. She's like, "Oh, honey, I will get you some. If not, I can give you $20 so you can go." She says, "But come here, we will help you." She was like, "I will give it to you out of my own pocket." Right. That's a Buddhist church, and there was only one Christian church. It was a Catholic church, which that was fantastic. But it was just really shocking that even as a human being, they couldn't. Even a man couldn't go like, "Hey, I got you. I have kids. I know what it's like. Let me just, who doesn't have $10 or $20 in their pocket?" And if you don't have it, maybe the church congregation can. There's so many people in the church. Why couldn't somebody just help? I don't know. I was just really flabbergasted about that whole thing, and I think. You go ahead. Finish.
Yeah,
yours.
I have 2 more.
Okay.
Proverbs 28:27. Whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and He will repay him for his deed. And then Luke 14:13. He commanded, but when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind.
I love that.
So again, it's
Amen.
help everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find it, going back to the churches, if you're a member, I'll help you. I thought the church's doors were supposed to be open, and you're supposed to witness and bring others to Christ. So if you're only saying you're going to help your members, aren't you a club?
Yeah.
And you only want to help your own and not those that really need it, right? So I found that social experiment very, very interesting.
I did
because
too.
I did not expect it to be such a low number.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, human to human, mother to mother, father to mother, whatever it is, when you have a child involved and they need food, why wouldn't you help them?
Exactly.
And again, to the pro-life, you can't be pro-birth because you want a kid to be born. If you're pro-life in helping all life, no matter what stage of life that is.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, that's where I get a little want to bitch
about
it.
exactly.
Yeah, because again, human to human,
Yeah.
it's like we forget that, and so many people
And anybody
need help right now.
who wants to turn it political about the SNAP benefits,
Right.
you're missing the fucking point.
Right, exactly.
You're missing the point. The point is not who, because of the government shutdown or because of SNAP. You're missing the whole fucking experiment.
Right.
It's about who will step up to help a mother and her starving baby.
Right.
That's just the whole point of it. And even if you, say you are completely broke, say you have $2 to your name, that's fine. You can help people other than monetary.
Right.
You can give your time to people. A lot of people may not know this about us. We've given time in our life. We've lived a few lives, and I've been a big sister, big brothers and sisters. I've worked at women's shelters.
Habitat for Humanity.
Habitat for Humanity. We've both done that. We've painted houses for the poor. We've done so much in our life that didn't cost us 1 cent,
Right.
but time. Spending time with those children of abused mothers while they go to counseling. That's what I did. Going to these people's elderly homes that maybe they have no family, building it, painting it, spending your afternoon there. My husband and I go every year, building beds for kids that don't have any. We do that with our church. So we give back, of course we give our tidings, but we give back in our time. So back to the human factor, it's about being human and what could you do to help another person
Right.
be in a better situation. And I think that was the whole point of the experiment. And I thought it was fantastic. And those of you out there who thought it was a political thing or we were bashing Christianity or the church, fuck you. Let me just say that, because it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with I would have helped somebody in that position.
Well, and I think too is if you're focusing on making it political, it's a left or a right thing or whatever, you're missing the point. And how small-minded are you that you can't look at it at a human to human level? And it's also Christ-like to do these things.
Yeah.
So if you're putting it because of whatever you hear, there's so much garbage out there. Remember, what would Jesus do? Jesus was walking around with the poor and the less fortunate, and he wasn't around people that were wealthy. He hated that. So it's like, why would I not want to help someone? Because that is Christ-like.
Do you want to hear something funny? I think it's funny because, again, it's a social experiment. But as I'm listening to this girl on TikTok, because, she went live a few times because it was just an overwhelming response to what she was doing, and a lot of them were saying, why don't you look at the Satans, the people that worship Satan? And she's like,
that's
I've been looking, I haven't found like a phone number, but they're like, here's our phone number, call us. That's gotta tell you something. That's gotta tell you something.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, again, to each his own. If that's who you believe in, what you worship, I can't tell you any different. I'm not going to vomit my morals, values, religion on you. That's what you... But you know what? They're going to give her whatever she needs.
That is shocking to me because you don't think of that. Most people that are Christians don't...
get a little leery of someone that worships Satan, but there's something odd to that says even they're, regardless of what they believe, they were willing to buy you a can of formula.
Yes.
So
you guys go out there and find that experiment. It's very interesting.
Right.
And again, you guys are always welcome to leave comments and opinions and whatever. We are very thick-skinned, and we love to hear whatever you have to say on it, or any other social experiment that you see.
So I'm going to take your glass and slip away for a minute because I know we have a little bit more to talk about with
Okay.
this. I'm
Oh,
fill
she's
you
going to
up.
fill me up.
Yes,
All right.
I'm going to go fill her up. So I'll let you kind of segue into your next piece that we want to talk about. I'll be right back.
Perfect. So let me see what else I got for you guys. So I guess the backlash on that whole experiment was, of course, the churches. There was actually some churches, because she did this last week, and then the churches had their services on Sunday, and because of so much backlash, the pastors, priest, whoever the clergy person was actually, addressing this social experiment. And some of them were just like, wow, we are really sorry. We're really embarrassed. They should have helped, which they should have. And then others were just like, no, I don't feel bad. And then they kind of said, kind of had a discussion with the congregation. Let me ask you, if somebody in the congregation needed help, you would help them, wouldn't you? And I think he was missing the point that it wasn't only the congregation that needed help. It was anybody who needed help. Yeah. You shouldn't have to be part of a church to get help with a baby. So, or anything for that matter. But anyways.
Well, girl, I don't know if I gave you back the right glass because I can't tell by the lipstick marks, but whatever. We're,
I don't have cooties today, but
I know my cooties aren't here today either. So
I'm done with my.
Alrighty. So I know you had a response that came up to, and I think it falls into like being judged and not having conversations about things like this where people miss the point, right? So I don't know if you want to elaborate on that a little bit to, how somebody missed the point.
Yeah, I think it was a very, very unfortunate situation. I really am respectful of other people's views and opinions, even if I agree with them or don't. I mentioned in other episodes that we had that I've been very political in my life. I've been in politics since I was 17, 18 years old, and also was a delegate for presidential candidate in my time. Also campaigned for another president in my time. And been heavily involved in politics, and also not to mention in my career, my career was I'm a corporate trainer, and for my career I actually had to build something for the Affordable Care Act for my job, and it wasn't like one way or the other. It was my job, and I had to create something for a couple of states, government states. And so I have a lot of knowledge on it. Do I spew my personal opinions to everybody? I do not, because they might not agree with it. So I have to be very careful, like who I speak to and how I speak to them. Educated enough to have adult conversations, let's say. So unfortunately, I had reposted that video of that woman calling a church, and I got a pretty intense message from a family member, and it was nothing but a verbal attack. My political views, my faith, my hypocrisy, it just went on, and it was, I wouldn't say offensive, it was just fucking dumb. Like,
it was shocking.
Like, what bear are you poking? First of all, you're talking to you're poking at the wrong bear, because one, I will be respectful to anybody as long as you are respectful to me. And once you pass that line, then the ghetto Chicago person in me comes out, and unfortunately, that's not pretty. But that was totally unprovoked. And unfortunately, it is going to cause a definite rift in my family going forward. Kind of shocking. I think a lot of us who were kind of in the know of it were just like, really? Did that really happen? And I even gave them the benefit of the doubt. Right. I was just like, maybe this person got hacked because it wasn't, something I would have expected from a family member. You and I have talked about it because I know your family members.
I think on the phone, you couldn't see me, but you knew I was going.
Yeah.
The mouth, I just did not know what to say. I was just so shocked.
I think we all were, but I'm not going to give that person control over anything. It's sad that an adult conversation couldn't have happened of like, if that person didn't disagree, if that person didn't agree with that particular video, maybe we could have had a conversation like, I don't really think that that's what they're saying, or but they didn't. They just came out full blown attack mode. And when I asked them if they were hacked, they made sure to let me know that they sent that to me. And I said, all right, well, here we go. So I think one of the other things is I have big triggers on name calling. I don't like when people call each other names. That was a big part of my first marriage, and it's triggers because he used to call me names and stuff, and I hated it. I never called him names, and I don't like it. And I think that's a trigger for me. So here are family members calling me names out of nowhere because whatever they believe, and I'm just like, okay, here we go. And so I just cut people out of my lives at that point. I say my piece, and then I move forward, and that's it. I just don't have any time or room for that person in my life. I don't have time for that with my kids, like them being part of my kids' life, because that's my world. And so they can deal with whatever they need to deal with. And
I think it goes across for anything. There's a lot of keyboard warriors that normally shy or timid person that would never say anything like that to your face is going to hide behind a keyboard, phone, whatever, pound away all of their spewing their garbage out, but they would never say that to their face. And then I also think it's a maturity thing. I think you get to be our age as well. We've lived a long time, and we just see things different, and the point is usually not what you like, the low-hanging fruit as they like to see. And I think that's where they missed the point, is they turned it political, and it was never meant to be political. No. So, and I think they judged you for that without even really having a conversation with you to find out where that was coming from. So I also have some Bible verses. Again, getting the Bible verses out too.
Yeah, I think part of that detailed message that I got was, am I really a Christian?
Yeah.
So, I'd like to swear right now, and but I'm just going to be like a good Christian, and bless her heart.
Yeah.
Anybody who says that to you, stop.
Yeah, especially in the South. That's like the worst cuss words ever, so just so you know, in case you didn't know that, now you do.
God.
So, again, judging in general, but for this particular situation. So Matthew 7:1-5, and I think a lot of people have heard this one. Judge not, that you be not judged. For with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when there is a log in your own eye? You hypocrites. First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. So again, you can't be, I think, when you come to judge, you can't judge somebody for something they did when then you might be doing something else that you were going to be judged for.
I stated that too, because I was just like, I asked, I asked this particular family member, doesn't the Bible say, love thy neighbor, and thou shalt not judge? And that's all they were doing, was judging me on a video that wasn't even like my video. I was just kind of putting it out there like, hey, this is an interesting thing. I never commented on it. I never said, I just reposted it. and they went to town with attacks, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, when you shared it with me, you didn't give any comments.
Yeah.
You just shared it to me because I know when you share things with me,
Yeah.
you find it interesting. And so there was no preconceived idea where you were coming from, but I saw it the exact same way you did.
You saw it as a human experience.
I just thought, oh my gosh, nobody's helping this lady.
Yeah.
How sad is this?
That's how I saw it.
I have a couple more verses. 2 Corinthians 5:10. Going back to who really should judge, right? For we let me start over.
Wine.
I know, I'm getting wine is getting.
Maybe that person just needs to drink a little chocolate
exactly,
wine.
Yeah. It says, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each of us may receive what is due us for the things done while in the body, whether good or bad. And then James 4:12, there is only one lawgiver and judge, the one who is able to save and to destroy. But who are you who judge your neighbor? So again, we shouldn't be judging each other because we all answer to God in the end when our time is done.
And those who believe in God.
Yes.
Again, we probably have, we can have people out there who are atheists.
Right.
There are people who are spiritual. There are people who think, well, there's something there, I'm not sure. You know, there's a whole realm of people, and we don't care.
Right.
We don't care. If you want to go worship Satan, go worship Satan. You want to listen to our podcast? Listen to our podcast.
Right.
That's not for us to tell you what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing. Would we love that you maybe think about the Bible or think about God? Of course, because we're Christians. But I'm not going to say, you're terrible, you don't exist, you're awful, because you don't believe the way we believe.
Your beliefs are whacked.
Yeah. I had friends that were atheists, and so did my kids. They were a couple that lived across the street from us, and they had a couple of kids, beautiful kids. One of them actually took my daughter to prom, and I didn't care. I didn't care. They were good people. They were good to us. They were good neighbors. You know, they didn't do anything wrong. I can't force them to believe in what I believe in. It's just not right. And those are you who are doing that out there. Stop doing that. And I know we are talking about Bible verses just because specifically of the situation that occurred with us, with me. And we're just explaining how it is relative, because the attack that came on me was political and because of Christianity.
Right.
But again, do you whatever you need to do. We just hope you enjoy what we're telling you. You're learning something from us, and that's it. Take it for what it is. You know?
I think a lot of it is, this one with the Bible verses, there's so much talk out there that this is a Christian nation, and it only the Bible or whatever is the right way to live. And I think that was the other thing, is that you don't hear about other religions or what they do or what they believe in. It's all about just the Christianity side of things. And so again,
and this girl that did the social experiment, she called every kind of church.
Right.
Mormons, I think Mormons and Latter-day Saints are kind of the same, right?
Close.
More Baptist church, Catholic church, Christian church. She even called the guy in Houston. Joel
Osteen.
They said no.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, now it's not funny, but they said no. But there is a man here who lives in the Houston area or around Houston, and he owns like a mattress place, and he helps everybody in Texas, no matter what. Some pretty bad hurricanes came through Houston, flooded out Joel Osteen's place, and that mattress man started giving mattresses, giving food, helping. I don't even think he went to Joel Osteen's church, but he was helping everybody. So it was kind of funny in some of the comments, because the comments were saying that girl was probably better off calling the mattress guy getting formula than Joel Osteen's church. That's string to that.
So,
All right, we're
so
gonna
call
leave.
the mattress guy.
Call the mattress guy in Houston. We're gonna leave it there. Let's do a little bit of moaning before we go. What you got for moaning? Anything?
God, you know I love food,
Oh,
right?
good,
And I
good,
love
good,
my
good.
sweets. So
Yeah.
talked about my spiced pumpkin pretzels. So I found a new thing again. If you know HEB, this is where I get it, but I think you can get them anywhere, honestly.
Okay.
But they are cinnamon cashews.
Ooh,
Oh my
yeah,
God, they're to die for. And the
okay.
thing that I have to be careful is I was eating them before I came over after work. I needed a little break. And before I know, half the bag's gone. And I'm like, oh, I gotta put this bag up. This is not healthy. This is like gorging myself. But yes, cinnamon cashews are to die for. So yeah, so my moan is along that lines. And then I have another one real quickly. If you've ever seen the original Charlie's Angels, it was back in the 70s, and Farrah Fawcett, Jacqueline Smith, and Kate Jackson were the actresses in that television show. Jacqueline Smith turned 80, and she looks incredible. We are going to definitely put a picture up here. Oh my God, if I look like that at 80,
she does look great.
she has looked the same today as she did when she was in the series, and she is stunning. And I was like, I could not believe she was 80.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
That is crazy. My moan is quick. We went to the New England this weekend, and we had lobster.
Lobster.
No
clam chowder.
Lobster and clam chowder. It was buttery, and I don't like butter, but it was not too buttery. It was just a little bit, and it was so good. It was so fresh, and it was a lobster roll, and
Yummy.
Yeah, that was great. So we're gonna wrap it up.
All right, sounds good to me.
We hope you enjoyed our little bitching session of our social experiment, and we hope that you continue to watch and go check out some of these social experiments and see what you think about them,
And let us know.
and watch out for our little adventures coming out.
Exactly.
All right.
Alrighty.
See
Bye,
you.
y'all.
Bye.